Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Sunshine Education Coalition's final episode tonight. I am April Cobb. I am one of the co-chairs for the Sunshine Education Coalition, and we have...
Hey everybody, I'm Denise Thomas. I'm also a co-chair of the Sunshine Education Coalition, and welcome, and we're so happy to be with you this evening.
So we are going to have some guests come on in just a moment. Well, one guest, and then actually our other part, our third of the three of us with the Sunshine Education Coalition. As you all can hear, Denise and I are sounding like the pollen is taking us out. You know why? Because it is. It is.
It definitely has. I mean, I feel horrid, but guess what? We shall persevere.
Yes, we shall. Mm-hmm. So as you all see, tonight's theme is the state of public education. Like, we really want to take an opportunity to revamp and, circle back around and have discussions around things that have occurred legislation wise and the governor wise as it relates to what we can possibly see in the next, I wouldn't even say years. I would say in the next 6 months, what the state of education, public education is going to look like. And, unfortunately, we are not going to see the greatness that is already in public education. Unfortunately, we're going to see more teachers just pack their ish and go.
And leave.
And just leave it altogether. And many have tried their darndest to just try and stick it out. But the more layers and layers of disregard, disrespect, and devaluing of the profession, there's no need to stay anymore, because it has created such a uncomfortable position for the teachers as it relates to not being able to move forward in a positive light in their classrooms, because all autonomy is just been stripped away from us.
Completely ripped apart.
Completely stripped. So, Denise, what are your thoughts as it relates to that before we get started?
There's so many things to say, but I will say that, as you see what's happening in we're coming down from Tallahassee, we're looking at all of the changes that are happening inside of education. And to me, it seems that it's not that they even care about education so much as to make these political statements to pull people in for a larger cause. There's something else that's happening that it's not in the forefront. They're just using education as a let's just use it as a stepstone to where we actually want to get to. And what we see, or what I feel that they're trying to get to is, getting those running for president and the presidential pundits, all the ones who are behind, who are all jumping along saying, okay, great, we're going to use Florida as usual. Florida is the testing ground for pretty much every type of educational reform that comes out there. So that's pretty much how I feel. They really don't care about education. They're just using education as the guinea pig, or as a scapegoat for everything else that they're trying to pass along the line.
And you know what's so interesting about that? That anytime we hear anything about education, we use the word nonpartisan. We use that word so fragrantly as if it doesn't exist. Politics exists in education, when in all actuality, it's all politics. All of this is politics. And if we take away everything else that's going on around us when it comes to public education, and just put a true spotlight on our own district, my God, that's the only word I can use, phrase I can use that makes sense, because there is no way we should be where we are at this current time in our district, because we had come so far in so many areas to where we have arrived to a place to where boundary changes have become at the forefront of the conversation, hidden behind the reduction of finance, of funding, when in all actuality, that's really not what it's about. That's really not what it's about. But that's what, in my opinion, that's the smoke screen that's being presented to us.
And I absolutely agree with that, because I mean, we still can't see our money. We still can't see all the where is that? Let's just say, but now it's another obstacle. It just seems like so many obstacles and another obstacle and another obstacle to the fact that, well, I can't pay the teachers. But here's another obstacle that we're going to put it ahead and say, okay, well, this is the reason why you can't get paid. Well, wait a minute, and the term repurposing, we're going to repurpose everything. We're going to repurpose this and repurpose that. Why? For what purpose? And if the people, and this, my question is, if they're going to put people into the buildings while they're also having school in the buildings, maybe the reality is that they're going to actually see what happens in these classrooms. So, I mean, okay, if you're going to repurpose, all right, be prepared for reality as well. Be prepared for that as well. And how are they going to actually interact? If you're going to bring the experts into these buildings, I'd like to see them do what they have to do with, in relation to the children. So that's my thought process there. So go ahead.
And even to further that a little bit more is for all of those that's been here. We're not arriving, we've been here. And we can take on that status of using that language to say we've been here because we've been doing this for over 20 years here. Not new administration, not new executive leadership, but we've been here. We didn't just arrive. We've been here. And we've been under the leadership of many superintendents. Now, I can go back and say, when I was in school, superintendents were with you for 10, 15, 20 years. They almost died out of the positions. So what does that say about our current state of public education right here in our district? In the last, 10 years, we've had 3 superintendents. What does that say? Let's really think about that. What does that say about education in our district?
Let's say that we building a house on a shaky foundation. That's what we're doing. Our foundation is not strong. That's for sure. Because if everybody can come in there and say, okay, you know what? I like what they've done before, but hey, let me revamp these carpets and change this building a little bit. I like what this person done before, but let me go ahead and do this else over here. Let me spend a whole bunch of money over here. I'm gonna bring a whole bunch of new staff in, and we're just gonna do what we want to do, regardless of what the budget says. Or are we not even gonna look at what the teachers actually need? But we're just gonna provide this. I mean, I think one of the most interesting things I saw this particular week was an ad. I think there was an advertisement. They were asking people to come to teach in Tampa. And let me tell you something, the comment section.
They went berserk. They went berserk with the comments. Not us, but they. Let me go see if I can find that real quick.
Please go find it. I'm just telling you, if you and what's sad about that is the fact that there's so much truth in that. These are people who have been teaching. These are people who have been in the system for so long. My eyes are watering. It's killing me. These people have been in the system for so long, and they are not lying. They are telling the absolute truth. But salary where? Help where? I mean, you talking all this stuff. Well, who can afford housing? Yeah, you get a little housing stipend if you're a brand new teacher. But if you coming in from out of state and you saying, okay, I bring in 15 years of experience. I mean, there's so many things about what they were offering. Somebody even had a comment about a water bottle. Want to give me a water bottle? That's what you're gonna need. Stay hydrated. That's what you're gonna need. So it's almost ludicrous when you think about it. It's like, okay, don't deceive people by saying that this is such a perfect environment. It is not. I mean, and we're not. And you want it to be such a beautiful, perfect environment, but you're forgetting the factor that drives us all. That's the children. So where are the children in these oh come teach in Tampa, but you getting ready to change all of what education is supposed to be about. Education is supposed to be something where a child can flourish and grow. But we don't feel that way at all. And within the classroom, within this new curriculum that's coming out, have you seen these books? Nothing about about this is going to allow the child that sits in my classroom. I'm just going to use my classroom as an example. Everything that's coming down the pike does not reflect the interests, the desires, the needs, the just the joy of my students. So but you want people to come teach in Tampa. Teach what? You tying their hands, you shackling them. How you teaching? So I'm just putting that out there to say, okay, that's great and everything, but let's be real. Let's be real. Like when young people come say to me that they are going into education, 20 years ago I would have said great. 20 years ago. Now I'd be like, run!
And there was a lot of the means showing the lady running for her life. Like, don't do it, don't stop, don't pass go, don't collect $200. Run for your life.
Because my thing is, if I mean, we're not even looking at all the outside factors too, but just the fact that you have so much there's just so much pressure on teachers. We're the one field, the one career where everybody is putting all this pressure on us, but yet and then expecting these incredibly high expectations, especially from children who've gone through pandemic living for the past couple of years, kids who have just been struggling for the past couple of years, and then pouring upon them such high demands for rigor and new standards, new curriculum, new everything, and you're expecting just excellence. Meanwhile, micromanaging the teacher, micromanaging the administration, micromanaging just every single aspect of education, down to things that actually don't even apply to everyone. Because we're talking about let's just jump right into AP history. AP, you have to be put in an AP class. A lot of people don't even realize that you got to be placed into an AP class. So you're acting as if this is applicable to everyone. Kindergarten kids don't have AP African American history. First graders, sixth graders, let's jump on over to 8th, 9th, possibly, but they have to be placed into that class. So they're creating a problem that doesn't even exist. That's the whole point. You're creating a problem, and that problem isn't even it. Okay, before I get all upset, I'm just going to go ahead and move on to my next part of the thing. Did you want to add something on to April?
No, we're good. I think you said it all.
Okay, one thing that we didn't want to mention to you all, because it's so important that you need to understand that early voting has taken place. It started on the 27th yesterday, right? Please vote. We want you to separate from your mind all the stuff that's posted on Instagram and all these people who telling you not to vote, because I'm gonna break it down as simply as possible. I just recently got called for jury duty. Okay, got to go sometime in the next 2 weeks. I got to go for jury duty. Now, you know how I got picked for jury duty? Because I voted. Because when I vote, I put my information is in there, and they're able to pull from all the people who are registered voters. Because so when you go to court, and you sit there in court and say, I don't know why a jury of my peers don't look like me. Well, you know why your jury of peers don't look like you? Because they didn't vote. I'm going to go to jury duty just to see how many other people of color are actually in the jury that day. I want to see if they, because I'm curious. It lets you know who is actually doing their civic duty. And if you don't think that matters to you, something that I wanted to bring up, I talked about it the other day. I think I added it to a list I had. Here was talking about. Okay, here it is. It is education, income, housing, justice, and healthcare. Those things are all necessary for you to live. But guess what? Your elected officials are the ones that have the power to either break you or make you. So you need to understand that all those things that are happening because you put those people in office, either through your negligence by not voting, or because you chose to vote that person into that position and they made that thing possible. Why landlords don't have a cap? because your elected officials said it's cool. Some landlords don't need to cap you up. Next month, your $800 rent gonna be $1,600. Why? When it getting ready to do eminent domain through your neighborhood? Why? Because your elected officials say it's cool. You don't need to live in that house right there. We don't care about them. To give you a slide, your little $600, move on. Your elected officials did that. That's the people you either put in power because you voted them in, or because you chose not to, and they have taken over. And I cannot stress this enough about why you need to vote. I mean, I really can't. April, what you want? I need to add to that. I mean,
That's it. You said it. When you don't vote, that's a choice as well. That means that you have identified that you do not want to demonstrate your level of interest in what occurs in your direct home and community. Don't even think about state. Let's just talk about the local. The local impact you the most and immediately. So when you do that, you're choosing still. You're still making a choice.
I remember the one time where I think it was new to Tampa, and I had just bought my first house, right? And I immediately saw the impact of when I went to vote, where they were voting for the homestead exemption to increase it from, I think, $25,000 to $50,000. It was some number it was increasing, and people pretty much passed overwhelmingly, where everyone was, yeah, we want a homestead exemption, that we want to increase, and I felt it immediately in my taxes, in my insurance, all that. I was like, wow, the power of the vote. Okay. And stuff like that was so impactful to me, because I'm like, I see how this works. And of course, coming from a very small island, for us, when you talk about when we vote, you immediately see the thing, because you only talking about 50,000 people. So you can make a massive change with 10 votes. Okay. So it's important to understand how much value you have in the vote. And I was just we work with my kids. We were talking about John Lewis and how much he went through just to get Black people to vote in the South, especially in those rural states like Alabama and all places like that. They gave up so much of their life to get us to do this simple thing that we all have the right to do right now. Please go out there and vote. I can't. This is my impassioned plea to the people. Please go out there and vote and make wise choices. My mother used to tell me when I was a child, make wise choices. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
And one thing that my principal came up with, I don't know if it's used at other schools, as now we always refer to the kids in the morning on the morning announcements, is let's all remain conscious of the CDC. CDC guidelines here at our school site. Choices, decisions, and consequences. You make good choices, you end up which lead to good decisions that you made, good consequences, and you know what the other part would result in. And I was like, that's good. That was good. And the kids are very in tune to when they hear the CDC now. You would be amazed because of all that scenario with COVID. But yep, those are CDC guidelines. And
I like
those
that.
can be applied to everything in your life and your being. Everything is a choice. When you do nothing, that is a demonstration of a choice.
That is also a choice to do nothing. And you see the results of that as it takes place right now. And you look at Tallahassee. The fact that what someone said, I was at a conference the other day. 9% of Hillsborough County voted. 9%. Of that 9%, how little was the Black vote? 9%. You letting people just make sweeping change, and they have the audacity to complain. You can't complain about anything. If you didn't go out there and try, at least speak up and try to encourage 10 people to come with you to vote, because that right there, it makes some big changes. Okay, so now what I want to talk about is like, well, now that all of this is happening, what's the actual impact on minorities regarding housing, mental health, and financial strain? Can we possibly predict in our future, in our immediate future?
In a few words, it's not going to be good. That's just the bottom line. And for those of us that are on the cuff of living in poverty, that number is going to increase exponentially, not slowly, exponentially, because of the simple fact that the changes alone just with housing and the housing crisis right here in Hillsborough County, as they continue to build, and there's no place for everyone to drive and go, that alone is going to create a detrimental impact. Our streets now, majority of them, hey, they repaired every year. I just want to be a part of the company that is, keep sending the check, because evidently it must be up, it's passing code, but it's not sustaining the longevity that it's supposed to. I've never seen certain roads being repaired every year so much. But this whole thing about the housing crisis and individuals that make the assumption that everyone can afford because they work, you are just delusional about what's really going on around you. And you must be in an income bracket where now you don't have any concerns about the next check or a couple of months. You have so quickly forgotten about where you came from, to where you are just, only thing I can say is delusional to the fact that there's a problem. There's a big problem.
And going back to your thing about the infrastructure. All right, yeah, because we got potholes that just that give birth to other potholes, and they just what a patch and a hole here and there is not going to help. And you're adding more cars, you're adding more weight, which means you're adding more trucks, because people need more food, more grocery stores. And then we're not thinking about the public transportation, because if you're gonna, this is my thing, if you're gonna grow your city, your public transportation needs to be on par with the growth of your city. That means you should have buses that run every 5 minutes. You should have, in town train transit systems. You should have things that not just build one area of town. Like, for example, downtown connecting to is it going to connect to Channel Side and going to connect to? It's only one section that's going to connect, so they're going to have a walkable community. But what about the rest on the outskirts? What about everybody else? What about the inner city? I mean, I learned quickly when I moved to Tampa. Within not even 2 weeks' time, I need to buy a car, because I thought that this was a city where I could get around on public transportation. Oh, no. What the lady from Gone said, Get Out said, no. So you can't say that you have to increase. And then here's the other thing, just like you were saying, April, some people truly have strayed away from the reality of what housing and actually just living costs. Because today, right now, yeah, we worked and fought for that increase, a $15 an hour increase for minimum wage. But since that's still minimum wage. $15 an hour is the new $7 an hour. Okay, that's the new 1995 was $7 an hour. Yeah, that's we back in 1995. Because $15 an hour is you still considered in poverty, and with those kind of numbers like that, that's ridiculous. You ain't that's no money. To say that you're paying $1,900, $2,000, $2,500 a month for rent on $15 an hour, you're never gonna make it. You're gonna have entire people living all together, and then the stress comes back, because now you got people living on top of people, on top of people, on top of people. The financial strain of it all. And for a lot of us, we don't live well together. You may have other cultures that know how to live 10 deep in a house. But some of us, like, we need our space. 10, 15 of us, somebody gonna be angry in just a minute. Okay? Did you want to add something? I didn't want to cut you off.
No, that's fine. And then let's bring it back to what our focus always is: the children. So, if there's a housing crisis and there's no cap on the rent, do we think there's a possibility that there are more children living in cars or homeless or have been displaced in January alone? Let's ponder on that a minute. Do we think there are more children now have been displaced in Hillsborough County, which could lead to the new program that are at specific schools scheduled to launch or already have lunch. I don't know what it looked like, so I'm not sure. That's supposed to be addressing those additional needs that families are enduring because of the housing crisis. Do we think that's happening? Do we think
It
that that's
absolutely is
possibly
happening.
happening at more inner city schools than those that's in the more affluent communities? Do we think that's happening? And I wonder if we really don't believe it's happening collectively as a people in the city of Tampa, because you have so many organizations, fraternities, sororities, identify as leaders in the community because they're always sought out as the voice, the collective voice for the African American community. Why aren't they talking about it? If that's what's happening. And if it is happening, how do you think these children are surviving? Number one, mentally.
Right.
If it's happening. That's the question. If.
And you will see it. You will see it happening. I mean, remember, anger and stress and frustration shows itself in a variety of ways. I mean, we may have, when kids have discipline issues, you have really got to look at the root of the problem. What is it possibly that is the real discipline, the real issue that the child has? I mean, that child may strike out at anybody, but it could be that I just moved into a house with a bunch of cousins and I ain't trying to be here because we can't afford to live where we used to live. And then on top of that, add on top of that, the boundary changes. Because, you know, the stress that's going to come from that. If we kick in the fact that, okay, you used to live here, but I got to send you way out there because honestly, that's what the boundary is saying, that you need to move. You need to go. You have to leave. So we're not, all the big decision makers are not thinking about the people that we serve. And who do we serve? We serve the children. That's who we serve. And no one has seemed to be asking the kids how they feel about any of this. No one. Can anybody ask a child today?
Well, our kids are not being asked.
You're correct. I'm sorry. I made a mistake by saying yes. Our children are not being asked and not being a part of the conversation. Because remember, every child has value. When we talk about the kids and valuing communication, every child has value. So that's it. That's important that we need to know that. Now, we want to talk just for a second about diversity within the classrooms. Whew, Lord. Okay. Let me get started. I love books. I love books of all types. I love all genres of books. I love all, type, because I'm just a reader. It comes from my mother, right? But because I can see myself in a variety of ways, because a lot of the books that I select from my classroom, for myself, are just varied and interesting. The issue is, once we remove all of that out of the classroom, what additional problems are you going to create because children can't see themselves in any of the text that's being presented in front of them? I mean, again, we're not thinking about the children when we make these decisions. We're thinking about the mom who's upset because I don't want my child to learn about Black history. That's what you're upset about. But again, once you're doing it, you create these type of societies where you have unfeeling and uncaring children. You're creating societies where you have people who just literally, okay, this is only what I know. And clearly, nobody else has value. Especially when you take away, you saying that Black people don't add anything to our culture, anything to our history. We just all we was slaves. All we could read is slave narratives. We're not reading anything positive about Black people other than the slave narrative. That's all we got. We got nothing else. We haven't added anything of value. That's why I was so glad when the kids are just learning all these different things about the different people, not the same three that they always been learning about. Because that's a problem. We're not becoming diverse in our curriculum, but also diverse in who's teaching our children as well. or giving them at least a diverse way of thinking. Because even if you're going to bring the same teacher in front of them, they have to have that mentality to say, I'm going to be open-minded and be able to say, okay, I might not be the same thing, same race as you, but I'm open to learning or open to having these discussions about your history. That's the issue right there. And this is why teachers are fleeing, because there are teachers out there who want to talk about it, but they feel that their hands are being tied so much that they can't talk about it. They can't share with the children. And it's heartbreaking for them, because a lot of them, their passion is truly education. And now you got to do something else, drive an Uber or something.
And these same children will grow up to be adults in this community. And they won't forget how this process impacted them. They won't forget that. And they won't forget how indifferent it was for them versus how it was for their peers that are in communities that doesn't necessarily look like theirs. They won't forget it. And they are documenting it all. And we think they really aren't, even though it may be through dance on a video, they do the little shake the hips and all that the whole time. They doing that, but they're also processing what's occurring around them. They see it, they know it. All you got to do is just pull yourself out of their immediate, what they think, ear, from their voice of what I'm saying, what my grandmother used to call it, where you can eardrop, what they're saying. Just think you're just shy away from where they think you can't hear them. They talk about it. They random stuff just come out of their mouth like, I wonder why they're not talking about the what they say, changing where we go to school at. They think they just change where they go to school at. They don't refer to it as the boundary change. It's not from in my space anyway. They said, I guess they made a decision then. We must just going to be changing. So now you have left them in a position where they don't even know what's going on. They know that it was a lot of conversation around it. It was highly profiled in the media. Remember, they have social media too. So when those conversations are happening in our households, or in the classrooms, those nuggets are also captured like they do on our phones. It pops up things on their phones as well. So they are paying attention, maybe not to the capacity that they understand, but they have questions. And I think at some point, the student bodies should have been addressed. No one has talked to the children, but we're doing what we think is best for the children. So.
And it's sad because you have I know the older kids went ahead and started protesting in Tallahassee already. They're like, look, you're I know they're protesting the AP Black African American history curriculum, but also just think about what our kids are going through. These kids have built relationships with their friends. They built relationships within their schools. They like their teachers, and they just don't want to move. So now you're taking. I mean, imagine a sixth grader. You're just gonna say, okay, let's move that child. That's a person who already is fragile because they're coming out of elementary school, and now to say, okay, this was the school you were supposed to originally go to, but now I'm going to send you someplace else. And especially around. Listen, a lot of them are not, for lack of a better word, they don't cross culture well. They haven't figured out how to cross culture, how to code switch. They haven't figured out how to do any of the things that as adults we've learned to master. Okay, so now they're there, and they're like, what is going on? And nobody's really talking to them. I mean, believe me, they are aware. Just like you say, April, they're aware of what's happening. They just don't know how to a lot of times they might not know how to express themselves, but they do know exactly what's happening around them, what society's happening. And they'll even come to you with questions like, somebody else got shot again, another Black man. They know, they're aware of it. Just like when we had the last president and it was talking about deporting everybody, you don't think the kids, the Hispanic kids, or a lot of them were just like, I ain't coming to school, because they might come to school and come get me. They were having these conversations.
Well, we saw it in the attendance. They weren't coming to school.
Bad. Yep.
Mm-hmm. They weren't. Not just saying it. They stopped coming for a while. They just dropped off the face of the earth. And then it was like, okay, it's safe now. Now we could come back. But it was a lot of students that just stopped coming to school.
Right.
Hispanic students. That is a fact.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing is people don't understand. It's like you should know the kids are aware of what's going on. Just because they're kids, you might not see them as that, but they pay attention. They remember they have more access to information than we had as adults back in the day. They say an 8-year-old has so much information in their phone that they can't even begin to process, and it's just overwhelming for them, which is a reason why a lot of times they don't even know how to take some of the stuff that comes through their phone. They're like, wow, they try to act like adults sometimes. It's like, no, this is not appropriate for you. Your parent need to put some filters on there, or your parent need to put some blockers on there or something, or but it needs to be those things need to be addressed with parents, right? So let's talk a little bit about the steps as we see for these major changes that are coming up, right? So one of the first big things that and this is what he says. I'm going to read off my quote right here. That he said, and this is we talking about y'all governor, because I mean, like I said, I keep on saying I didn't vote for him, but anyway, on the 29th of April, he said that he was going to make Florida a so-called constitutional carry state, which would allow people to publicly carry firearms without permits. Now, let's put this out here like this. What do you think this will do to communities of color? How do you think this will truly affect communities of color? I'm going to hear your opinion, and then I'm going to jump back in with mine.
We see what it looks like when they don't have the guns. It's an assumption that they may have a firearm. So I don't want to imagine what the impact would be for communities of color, because we lack the communities of color. The majority of them lack. My share didn't fail. Hold on. We lack. Hold on, y'all. We lack the necessary relationships that should have already been built in our communities, to where now you get ready to say, okay, Jaquan, you can go buy a gun, as long as you follow the proper channels and you could publicly display it. Now, Jaquan, we can't help you if you're seen as a threat just because of your appearance. We don't know what that consequence may come about for you, but we are telling you, in your neighborhood, if you go through the legal proper channels, you could carry a firearm. So you do the math. I think we're going to see more incarcerations of being taken into custody. And while taken into custody, that could look like, oh, you're resisting arrest, you're struggling. And I mean, the stories could play out in so many ways, because driving while black is a thing. Unfortunately, it's a real thing.
Yes. This is the unfortunate thing, is that Black people who are already, I mean, especially youth, Black youth is already seen as adults. And then it's going to be, now I'm threatened by this Black youth. And especially since we already walk around in Florida with the, stand your ground, you combine that with the stand your ground law. So now we've got people walking around. I'm threatened by this Black youth. I have the right to carry my gun. Now I'm going to start shooting. That's my biggest concern. That's my big fear right there, because what is this? How community is going to be literally in a state of panic, a heightened state of panic, because we just don't know. And I think what it is, like I said, a lot of these things that they're trying to do are purposeful, because when you say something is good for all, you really don't mean everyone. You say it's a law for everyone, but not really. Like remember what back in the day, all men can vote. Are you sure? But you didn't mean all Black men. You kept that part out. We had to fight for that right. So a lot of things that they're trying to do, I don't know. But like I said, this is what was said back in 2000. This was said back in last year, 2020. No, sorry, it was 2022. Okay, then let's go forward a little bit to this past week, which was in fact yesterday, the 27th. All right, Governor signed the HB 9B bill, during a news conference Monday at Reedy Creek. This one, we're going to summarize it by saying this. He wanted to penalize the Disney Corporation, okay, so the Mickey Mouse and all them, okay, all right, directing lawmakers in the GOP-dominated legislature to dissolve Disney's self-governing district during a special legislative session because, and let's say why it is now, they slammed the company for coming out against the education law, calling it a purveyor of woke ideology that inject inappropriate subjects into children's entertainment. Now, you messing with the House of Mouse. That's what you say. The House of Mouse? All my shows on there?
Look, and they got the money to fight back.
Yes. I mean, come on now. So how damaging is the passage of this law now to other businesses, but not just small businesses, for-profit companies? Because Disney can fight back because Disney got long, strong money. But the fact that even passed, though, it's terrifying. Because what about the small? What about the little dude down the street that want to make a T-shirt that says whatever he wants it to say? What are you saying? I don't know about you, but a lot of that sounds very dictatorship-like, fascist, even. That don't sound like somebody who, or that don't sound like we're living in a state where a private business is being penalized for whatever they're choosing to do, and that bothers me. What you think, April?
Ditto. That's it. I mean, I don't know how much more conversation we can generate around the mastermind of the developing of things that we have tried to dismantle as a country. That's really what it is. To be honest, he's genius at the rate how he does it. Let's be honest, but that's dangerous to me. That's a very dangerous person to me. And I always go back to the people that are around you that are not speaking to the harm that it can bring to the people as a whole. They're more.
I think that April got booted off. She was doing so great too. Well, I'll pick up from where she left off, and hopefully she'll be able to pop back in.
That's weird.
That was weird.
And the message came up, an error happened, but it's not your fault. Wait, what? And I'm like, I hope it didn't turn her off. So that's good that it kept going.
That it kept going.
You, and the message came up.
That might be a sign. God. That might be a sign. At least we're on. We got on for. It's okay. It's okay. Hey, listen, we got 2 questions that we gonna wrap up because
because we don't know what that was.
Be great.
We've been infiltrated.
What was the last point that you were making? Go ahead.
I don't even know because it threw me off. What was I talking about?
Well, I think we were talking about how okay, he is genius in his way.
And it's scary that those that are around him are more harmful. Are more responsible for all of this than even he is at this point.
Right. And
because it took a team to collectively put all of his vision in motion the way that it is.
Right.
Which shows you that surrounding yourself with the right people can definitely have your vision, manifest into full fruition with the power of the being.
Right.
Hopefully he has
okay. And let me tell you what's real scary is, I mean, it's sad to say that sometimes you want the stupid president back because you want somebody dumb who you can just clown and be like, okay, yeah, he's too dumb to process this. But you don't want somebody that have a little bit of intelligence, a touch of intelligence. They could do even more. Because don't you, even with movies and things like that, the evil genius is the worst one because he's a genius. But if you got an idiot, okay, I'd prefer to give me the idiot back because that's the one I know I don't have to take him seriously. Okay, only concern I have is that you still got your finger on the trigger. You can still press that button. That concerns me. But there's enough people around you that's like, man, this dude is a complete idiot. So that's that I would accept. But this right here is a damaging thing and a scary thing. And then of course you also have, let's look at Texas. They've been had a crazy governor, and so they and voted back again. Just that's the part that's scary. Is like y'all done lost power in the power grid. People have died in the snowstorms. Y'all have gone through all this crazy mess, and you still bringing them back. What's wrong with y'all? You thought you blaming Florida and thinking Florida we can't count votes in Florida. Y'all just dumb as. Let me just calm down.
It's the power of the dollar and position.
Yeah,
money and positions will make a human. You know, the ones that have the same blood,
yes,
the same need for oxygen, the same desire to be able to see, hear, and breathe. Those same individuals, it will make them go do things that's criminal mentally.
Right.
Just think about it. It's criminal just because you thought about doing it. Forget that you physically go do it. It's criminal just because you thought about doing it when you know it was going to bring and create such despair to another group of people.
Right. And
intentionally.
And it's just like the gun lobbyists. Okay, you see all these massive shootings, killing babies in all these different schools, but we still don't realize that the semi-automatic rifle should not be sold. It should be legal to have. No, but you know what? Why? No, I know a set of children died here, and another set of children died here, and some more kids just died, and the kids in Marjorie Stoneman died. Yeah, they all died, and there might be another one coming, and there was another at a college. Okay, but still, all these examples out there, money is the driving factor.
Yes,
there's a reason why they don't. They will not ban. They will not ban it. That's the simplest solution. Ban it. The simplest. What purpose do you need to have all these semi-automatic? You're not hunting deer. You're not bringing down a bear or an elephant. You're killing people, spraying bullets out to kill people. It's ridiculous. Anyhow, where I digress. Where was I now? Okay, so then of course I just want y'all to pay attention, right? The big thing to pay attention to is look at what's happening in Tallahassee. All these little House bills that are coming around, right? So one House bill we noticed is about the recall of county officers and commissioners that was brought about, and
that's scary.
That's scary.
And we've seen what that looks like for our state. What is it? For Andrew Warren.
Yes, exactly.
We've seen what that looked like.
Right.
So once you demonstrated that you can do it, let's go ahead and apply it to all other areas of local government as well.
So what are you saying? So so basically it's like this. All right, we don't need to have a city commissioner's office. We don't need to have city planning. We don't need to have individual things like that. Well, we can run it from Tallahassee. If we feel that you don't need no money for something, we won't give it to you. We're taking the hands off the pot, the local pot, and we're gonna run it ourselves. That is the most terrifying thing ever. If they said Hillsborough County needs to have a militia police, and there's no county commissioner that's gonna we get rid of them so they don't have to say it in how it goes. They could do it. They could do it. And the fact that the Republicans are holding the House up there in Tallahassee, that's the scary, because the Democrats don't have, as my mama grandma said, they don't have a pot to piss in. They don't have enough votes. They don't have the strength up there to do what they need to do. Do you see why it's important for you to vote? Bringing it all back around full circle.
And again, it goes back to this. When we as a people are suffering collectively in silence, when we have the ability to do something to make a change with it, then we have to point the finger back at us that we're the problem. And I don't say you, and you. Yes, I vote. Super vote. But I can't point to people that look like me and say, oh, you all know, because it impacts me as well. Mm-hmm. So whatever the final decision was made, when they say only 10% of us voted or 2% or whatever it is, then I'm right there with you all with the results that come about, because it's going to impact me as well. Mm-hmm. Which then filters down to our children, the ones that have no fight in any of this. They're just children. They act like they're 35, 40 some days.
Some days they do.
Mm-hmm. But they're here. and
Right.
they want an opportunity to become adults, to be able to bring families into this world and, continue that cycle. That's what we're here for.
Right.
And at the rate we're going with the introduction of walking around with guns openly, people, and that it also had something to do with the stand your ground too, Denise.
Yes, it does.
There was some revamp now.
So if you got an inkling that you feel threatened, just an inkling,
and with the right lawyer
mm-hmm.
and money power, it could definitely be swayed, to present itself as that person felt for their life. I mean, there's so much can go wrong with these new bills that are being proposed or amended, to where if you're not paying attention, or if you haven't been paying attention, you should be woke
by now. And understand these are changes to the state constitution. This ain't just like a little play thing. Okay, we're just gonna have a little bill, and this is a change to the Constitution. It's not like in the 1st of January you got all the new laws that come down. This is constitutional changes, which means it's gonna be in there for a minute. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? I mean, it's the Constitution. How hard is it to make amendments to a Constitution? Excuse me. And when they get there, they're gonna stay there. So
until somebody bold enough to come behind
and make a change. And make another change. Exactly.
So I do think that he should go ahead and run for president and have to relieve himself of being in that office.
Right.
So maybe we can get some
kind of relief. But we don't find out. Let's see, because I don't know, child. I can't call it. But
that's an even more dangerous position. But anywho.
Mm-hmm. But so we I mean, we wanted to come in this evening and just talk to you a little bit about as we wrap up our 28 days of collective voices. We really want you to go out there and be an advocate. Go and stop by into the school board meetings. Speak up at your schools. Go places like, for example, I think that something is happening tomorrow, March 1st, I believe, over at Reagan Park. They have some they have a gathering as well. There's just there's so much information we're going to post and share. But please share this with other people. Talk to people about voting. Talk to people about the changes in education, how it affects your children, how it affects your housing, everything about that. Because we know that if we do not continue to speak up, it's just hard. And also these groups that truly say, okay, we're for the kids. Please be about the kids, then. Please be about the kids. If you say that's what you're about, please be there for them, because they're the one group that is underrepresented, and people don't think they have value because they don't have a large voice, but they do have value. They're our future.
And I echo everything that Denise just said. And, before we get off, it can't always be the same people saying the same thing all the doggone time. We need others to bring voice to the issues that are plaguing our children. And you don't have to look like us to do that. Wrong when something is wrong and not going to benefit a child. So we're going to continue talking about the school to prison pipeline. It's not going to go away. And for all board members that have, allowed that topic to go dormant, in the back of their minds, as if we have come up with this, phenomenal, robust new way of work when it comes to discipline in our district, you haven't. You haven't. Remember just last summer when I sat in a workshop and the data presented itself, and it was identified that data was incorrect and where it came from, and it was just fallacy. It wasn't. It came from ADA training that was presented to me, and by far I would not want to present that information to anyone, because it demonstrates that we're not doing a good job. Keyword we. You never hear us point the finger to say them. We say we. And the reason why we are not doing a good job is because we don't have the resources in school to be able to do the best we can with what we have as it relates to our demographic of children that are coming in. There's no way why any one school be classified as a failing school and no one wants their children to go there. There's no reason why that should exist in this current time that we're in public education. We're in the 21st century. Why is it still happening? Could it be because it was a part of the design from the beginning? And some things you can't just erase or dissipate. Yes, you can. We see it happening right now. And we're taking an individual that's supposed to be demonstrating a representation for all people. And we've now made it into something that democracy is just, it doesn't seem as real for children that are currently sitting in a civics class. They're talking about it. The kids are talking about it because they're asking questions like, well, how can, and why can't, and I thought you said he couldn't do that. But it's being done. So again, organizations that have a tier in their organization, that say a tier or a requirement for you to have education at the forefront, or youth engagement at the forefront, or the foundation for why that organization was developed. We don't hear you. We don't hear you loud enough.
Silence. Silence.
We can't wait till almost the decision has come to a point to where it's finalized. We need to hear you before then. Please help. And the data is there. Step on some toes, because that's what everybody will say. Well, you ain't got to be so aggressive about. That's not a. Thank God our ancestors was aggressive.
None of us would have been here.
Right.
And we're rolling back stuff that they worked so hard for us to get. They all, do you realize they're rolling stuff back?
Right before our eyes.
Right in front of our face. I'm worried.
I'm very concerned about it.
I'm worried.
And at my age, we reached that half a century.
We sure have.
We're not concerned about it for us. We're concerned about it because of the children.
The future.
And I think that's a great way to finalize.
That's right.
Our 28 days of collective voices. It's been real. Remember, we always advocate for children. We mentor children. We also chastise children when they're doing wrong, parents. But we never killed no children.
That's right.
No children. We never done anything that would bring harm to them outside of telling them something they don't want to hear when they're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. But anywho, it's been great. Anytime y'all want to find out more about what the Sunshine Education Coalition is doing, please visit us on our website at sunshineeducationcoalition.org. And we welcome all help when it comes to raising our voices as it relates to the disciplinary issues that continue to plague Black boys, primarily here in Hillsborough County Public Schools.
Correct.
So anything you want to add?
No, I think you wrapped it up right now. The allergies are right there. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us. And listen, please join our advocacy work, as April gave you our website already. And I'll see you very soon. Quick to grab this.